recently learned that regular magic ring is not a reliable way to start your crochet circle. As they say, you live and you learn and you break some granny squares. Let's learn the much stronger and much more dependable double magic ring. We're going to start with the quick version, just in case you came for a refresher and just need to see it once. After that though, I'm gonna break it down nice and slow. So here are the steps. Pinch it in your hand. You're gonna wrap once, twice, one more time. Flip your fingers over, take your crochet hook, dive under two, grab the working yarn. Pinch it, and you're going to draw through once, then chain however many you need for whatever stitch you're making. Pull the tail out. That's not the tail. Pull out the tail. Come here, you little tangly thing. And then work into your magic ring. That was a quick version of things, so let's pull this out and we're going to break it down really nice and slow. So what this double magic ring is it is just another version of the magic ring where you actually have two loops going around, which makes it twice as strong and makes it so much less likely to actually pull out like a single magic ring. So you're going to start with your crochet hook and your working yarn and lay it across your non-dominant hand, just like I'm showing you here. So I find it most comfortable to kind of pinch with my thumb and ring finger, leaving my pointer finger and middle finger free for me to wrap around. We're going to make a series of wraps, and I will tell you this is where I got lost the very first time I did it, so I'm going to show this a couple of times. So I'm going to wrap once around these two fingers. When I wrap again, I'm going to cross over my tail. So I'm going to wrap over here on this side, and then last time, wrap again. So when I turn my fingers over, the yarn coming from the ball is the farthest from my hook. And I've got two other loops on my finger. One more time, because this is the most important part of it. Other than that, it's pretty much like the single magic ring. Okay, so I've laid where the tail is coming towards my chest. My working yarn is away from me. I am pinching my thumb and ring finger. This is my non-dominant hand. I'm going to then wrap once. When I wrap around again, I am going away from my hook, then one more time, second wrap, and then I'm turning my fingers over. So what I've got here is my working yarn farthest away from my hook and two other loops around my finger. Okay, pick up your hook in your dominant hand, and now we are going to grab our working yarn. You can see it right here is the furthest away. The order of these other two is a little less important. We're going to dive under the first two loops, see how I'm underneath it, and we're going to hook and grab that working yarn, the one from the ball. So under these two loops, hook and grab the working yarn and pull it through. Okay. Go ahead and pinch those two loops on your finger so that you can maintain holding on to them as you slip them off your fingers. It should look something like this. You can see how very nicely we have two circles going around, and we've also pulled up a loop with our working yarn. So I'm gonna hold on to my working yarn because I don't wanna lose it, but I'm also holding on to this ring. That part was a little tricky for me at first too, so just practice those first few steps until you can get to here. Now, don't let go of anything. We're going to very carefully hook our working yarn once more and draw through the loop that we created to chain 1. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we got. We have a lovely circle with 2 rings, and we have successfully chained 1. Now, this is where I saw in other tutorials, people untucking the tail. See how the tail's crossed to the back? I have seen people come and feed the tail so it's out to the front, basically so it's just not twisted around these other 2 loops. I will be honest, I don't know if this is important or not, but it's the way that I do it now. So tuck or untuck that tail, up to you. You should still have 2 loops going around in that ring. Okay, from here, it's a matter of whatever your pattern is telling you to do. So I'm going to be single crocheting because this is a start of one of my crochet yarn cozies. So I only need the chain 1 that I created. That's enough. If you're going to be doing double crochet, half double crochet, you need to chain more for whatever your starting chain is. Once you have that, it's time to crochet into the ring. And keep paying attention to this because I'm going to be showing you next how to tighten up this double ring. It's not exactly the same as a single magic loop, ring, circle, whatever you call it. Okay, so I've got the 2 rings. I've got my single chain 1. Even if you are doing single crochet, you might find that you like to do 1 more chain here. So up to you on that. Actually, let's try that. 1 more chain. So 1 chain to just start it, and then 1 more chain. Now I'm going to start crocheting into the circle. On this first go around, I'm also going to crochet over this tail because it's just a little bit smoother. So as I dive into the circle, I'm actually going to see 3 strands here, my 2 loops and my tail. So I'm going to go hook into the circle, grab my working yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 because I'm single crocheting, but it doesn't matter what you're doing, whatever stitch, just work into the circle. So again, I'm going underneath both rings of the circle and my tail just for this first round. I need to make 6 single crochets, so let's keep going into the circle, grab the working yarn and pull it up, and make a single crochet. Into the circle, grab the working yarn, pull up, make a single crochet. It should still look like this. Nice, right? Double magic ring. Okay. Once I have a couple, or 3, I guess, I like to go ahead and make this ring slightly smaller first before I completely tighten it once I've gotten all of my stitches in. This is just my preference. You can play around. So let's talk about what it looks like to tighten this magic ring. I'm going to tighten it halfway, not all the way right now. So if I just pull on my tail, it will start to close 1 ring and not the other. That is not what we want. We do need to pull on the tail to see which ring starts to close first. See how you can see it closing up? I'm holding on to my stitches here, but closing up this ring and not this ring. The one that starts to close, this one that starts to get smaller with the tail, is the one that we actually want to pull on to tighten our second ring. So let me say that in a different way because that sounded confusing. When you start to pull on the tail and it starts to close 1 ring, pause. Then grab that ring that's getting tightened. I'm just going to like separate these a little bit and pull on the smaller one first. When you pull on the smaller one, see how it starts to then tighten up your other ring? So now this one's just tightened. If I pull my tail again, it will go back to tightening that other ring. So I'm just going to get both of them like halfway closed up. I don't want them all the way closed up because I'm not done yet making my stitches. So there, I just made both of them a little bit smaller. So let's get back to making our single crochets or whatever stitch you're making. I've made 3, I need to make 3 more for a total of 6. I just find it a little bit easier to manage this magic ring if it's a little bit smaller. So back we go, diving into the circle, making our single crochets, tail stop bothering me. You know how to make stitches. I'm just showing you the double magic ring. Okay, when I've got all the stitches that I need, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect. This is when I'm going to finally close everything up again. So I pull my tail to see which loop is tightening. Once I see which one is getting smaller, I grab that smaller ring and pull to close the other ring. If you don't close them in the right order, you will have one ring all the way cinched up and the other one will be just out there hanging out. So see how I've gotten that first one really, really close? I'm gonna get it even tighter. That first one's all nice and closed. Now I have this out here. This second one is connected to my tail, so it's no problem. I'll just continue holding on to my stitches as I tighten the last one. And now we're secure and ready to go. I'm gonna push my tail to the back. For this particular pattern that I'm working, I'm gonna be making a slip stitch into the first stitch, but of course you follow whatever your pattern tells you to do. Boom. I now have a beautiful and very secure start to my circular crochet. While the double magic ring is much more secure than the single magic ring, you still need to do a great job of weaving in your end. So see how I have this lovely long tail? Depending on what I'm making, I'm gonna weave that in pretty far. So I would say specifically for granny square blankets or any kind of blanket where you're gonna get a lot of tension on your final product, here in the center of my granny square where I have a magic ring, I am going to do my double magic ring, but also make sure I weave in my end in several different directions. So I think I lost a center. Here's the center where the magic ring would take place. I would then take my tail through this row, up, through this row, up, through this row, up, through this row, zigging and zagging, making sure that tail gets really secure. This is the best way to really ensure that you don't have any of those scary breaks in your magic ring. There you have it. That is the double magic ring. It works anywhere you're starting to crochet in the round, like maybe these little yarn cozies or a granny square. Just please make sure, especially if you're doing some type of blanket, that you weave in a really long end super well too. You can find all of my other crochet and knitting tutorials linked in a playlist down below, or maybe you'll like this one, or maybe this one too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!